Brachas Perek Gimel Mishnah. This Mishnah is a continuation of the previous halacha of Balkari. Now the Mishnah is going to discuss the din of Balkari Inyan davening Shemona Esrei, because the Takanas Ezra was that a Balkari is not allowed to say the Torah and is not allowed to daven either. But the Rambam writes that Ezra wasn't Masakin Tefillah for a Balkari, only for the Torah, and the Bezin afterwards was Masakin that a Balkari also is not allowed to daven, and he's not allowed to daven until he's Tevel. Kesef Mishnah as a kash in the Rambam, Ein Kesef Mishnah, Hilchas Tefillah, Perek Dalet, Halacha Dalet, for a continuation of this discussion. But the point is that that a Balkari is not allowed to daven doesn't come directly from the Takanas Ezra, it comes from a period right after Takanas Ezra. A person was davening Shemona Esrei in his Geshu Balkari, and then he remembered that he's a Balkari and that he's not allowed to daven. See, until he's Tovel, so la yapsik, he shouldn't stop his tefillah altogether. Eli kater, he should end off each bracha. Each bracha, he should summarize and shorten each bracha. He should say the beginning and end of each bracha. For example, he should say Atachayin Ladam Das Baruch Atah Hashem Chayin Hadas. Interesting. Why can't he just say Havinenu? So Havinenu, the Gemara explains later on that there were times when a person was in a sakana, or other reasons why a person would be traveling and he wouldn't be able to say the full blown Shemona Esrei. So Havinenu is a couple of lines which summarize, which mention in 2-3 words each bracha in Shemona Esrei. So the question is, why the Balkari shouldn't say Havinenu? So the simple answer is because Havinenu only works if a person started saying had a mind and he's in a sakana and he needs to say Havinenu. He can't just say Havinenu because he remembered that he's Balkari. He doesn't stop the whole Shemona Esrei. He just shortens each bracha. Yorad litbal, the Balkari goes to be tevel in the morning, meaning he needs to make sure that he's going to have time to say Shema. If he gives himself enough time to be tevel and to get out of the tefillah and to put on his clothing and his talis and to say Shema before Netz. Why? Because the mitzvah of Kriya Shema, the Iker mitzvah min hamuvcher is Netz, like we said earlier, Perek Aleph Mishnah Beis, v'goyim ra'ad netzachamo, and that's what the Vasikin would do. The Vasikin again were the people that were humble and loved the mitzvahs and very much enjoyed the mitzvahs. They were medaktik. They were careful to finish Kriya Shema with netzachamo, that they should be able to be samech gula l'tefillah, like we explained before. So then, obviously, what you should do is yala v'yaskasa v'yikra. He should quickly get out of the water, and he should dress himself, and he should say Kriya Shema Shel Shachris. Vimlav, if he doesn't have enough time to get out of the water and to say Kriya Shema before Netzachama, Yiskasa b'mayim v'yikr. It's very interesting halacha that he's allowed to cover himself over with water and say Shema. What does this mean? It means that he goes into the water until his neck, and he's standing in the water until his neck, and then he can say Shema there. This halacha, the Gemara explains that this halacha is only if the water is not clear. Why? Because if the water is clear, then it's liba raya es erva, which means that there's nothing separating between his heart and his erva, by his waist. But if the water is not clear, then he is able to say it because it's considered like he has a covering, and it's considered as if there was something being mafsik, bein liba la erva. But there's a tanai over here, there's a catch. He's not allowed to cover himself over to go into the water if it's bad water. What's bad water? Dirty water, or meraklayim, mishra, or water that flax was soaked in because it has a very bad smell. Until it has clear water in there and that the smell went away or the meraklayim isn't there. The Gemara explains that this part of the Mishnah is talking about meraklayim. This achiyatel sechem mayim is talking about if a person is davening. Nothing to do with Balkari, nothing to do with being in a mikveh while he's saying Shema. But a person is not allowed to say Shema or daven or make a bracha next to Tzoya or Meraglayim, as we're going to explain in the Hemshech HaMishnah. But he's not allowed to say Kriya Shema next to Meraglayim until Achayatel Sechem Mayim, until he pours water in it. That there has to be at least the revius more of water than Meraglayim. How far does a person need to be from Mayim Haroim, Meha Mishra, or Meraglayim that he didn't pour water in? So then, and Tzaya, so then that he should be able to say Kriya Shema. Meaning, how far away from dirty water, smelly water, or tzaya does a person have to be in order to say Kriya Shema? Arba amas, 4 amas. We're not going to get involved in the dikdukim of how much exactly an amma is. Anywhere between 1.5 and 2 feet. Some will say it's less than 2 feet. We're not going to get involved in that now. And what are we talking about? That is only if the meraglayim, or the dirty water, or the tzaya is on the side of him, or it's behind him. But if the meraglayim or the tzaya is in front of him, he has to make sure that he's not able to see it at all. If he's not able to see it anymore, then he is able to daven, even if there's tzaya there. But if he is able to see it, then he's not allowed to daven there. So there's two things that the Gemara goes through over here that we need to speak out. Is that there's a problem of erva and there's a problem of things that are dirty. Now, obviously, they're closely related to the point where the Rishonim speak out already that a child, a baby, that was loy tam dogon, that didn't eat anything yet, but even if he nurses, even if he has a dirty diaper, even if it's tzaya, it's mutter to daven in front of that tzaya. It's not considered tzaya until he eats food of his own and not mother's milk. And at that time, when that tzaya becomes real tzaya, that you have to distance yourself from when you're davening, that's when the erva becomes a real erva that you have to be distanced from when you're davening also. Another interesting thing to point out is that there's there's tzaya that could be in a person's body, then there's tzaya that could be lying around. A person has to make sure that he's davening with guf naki, and a person has to be baidik himself before davening if he needs to go for ketanim, for g'daylam, and he has to make sure that he cleans himself in basic kisei properly. But otherwise, it's also for him to make brachas, also for him to say, to learn, to say Shem Shemayim, and all these things.